Hi all. I'd like to do a few videos on classical guitar. Lately on some of my videos I've been putting everything into a text file and then I number them 1, 2, 3, 4, so I don't miss nothing. And that kind of keeps me on track. This time though, I put everything into a Word file. So we'd have some pictures to look at. A lot of these topics might be new to you. So this is for people who are very beginners. They just like the sound of the classical guitar and have no idea where to start. Okay. So this is just a general picture just to get us going. Okay, so just to give you a general idea, the classical guitar has nylon strings on it. Okay, and we play classical music on it. The fretboard hand, the hand that you play up here, it's basically the same as any type of guitar. The hand down by the hole, down by this hole, you finger pick with your other hand. Okay? Other types of music use finger picking too. Rock guitar, country, metal, lots of styles of music use finger picking, but we're mainly talking classical music here. As we get into the lessons more, we might venture out into other things, but I'm going to try to keep this series of videos mainly for classical guitar, classical music. Okay. Sometimes the classical guitar is called Spanish guitar, mainly because it kind of originated in Spain or Europe, a couple hundred years ago, way back when. Andres Segovia, he's like the main classical guitar figure in the business. But not all classical guitar music is from Spain. Just some people happen to call it Spanish guitar. There's another type of music that's popular on the nylon string guitar. That's called flamenco. And it's basically a different type of style. I would say it's Spanish folk music, but I think with the flamenco, it's thought of as more of a Latin or a Mexican type style. Now, that's just my opinion, but we won't be talking about that. I never learned how to play flamenco, but I love it. I like the way it sounds. I bought a VHS tape on it years ago, but I never really had a chance to get into it. So there's plenty of other videos out there if you're interested in that type of thing. Okay, so all I'm saying with this section is we're going to concentrate just on classical guitar and classical music. Okay, so I've heard years ago that the proper term is classic guitar. Most of us know it as classical guitar, but I don't remember where I picked it up, but the proper term is classic guitar. But we'll go ahead and continue to use the word classical guitar, because I think these days when you hear classic music, most people think of like 1960s rock and roll type thing. So just to kind of keep things separated. Okay, so when I put this word file together, I didn't really plan on it being huge. You can see down here it worked out to be 57 pages. So what I did here is, here at the top I have the short answer. And I have just a few things here. And then a couple pages down I have one that says the long answer. Okay? So the short answer is, practice at least 30 minutes a day. If you're just getting started, 30 minutes a day is fine until you get it into your routine. Once you get it into your routine, you can build up more, 45 minutes, an hour. But if you work, go to school, have homework, college, wife and kids, trying to squeeze out an hour might be kind of tough. Okay? So just try to get in at least 30 minutes. Practice the same time every day if you can. That's because it builds a routine into your system. So every day at 4 o'clock you're going to sit down and practice the guitar for a half hour. Now, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least that's what most people recommend. There's a good finger exercise on the fretboard hand, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's all types of finger exercises. Books and videos, they'll run you ragged just on exercises. You don't need that stuff. Just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The hand down by the hole, when you look at the classical guitar music, P is for thumb, I is for index, M is for middle, A is your ring finger. Why they have it like that is it's probably P is like the Spanish word for thumb or something like that. I don't know. So I have a Jingle Bells song down below. That's a sweet, simple song to get you started. If you're a total beginner to the guitar, lots of the classical guitar books might be kind of hard to get started with. It's possible, but I would recommend starting with this book here. Start with the Alfred's book, and this is just a general guitar book, just a generic learn from the very beginning guitar book. Once you get through about half of this book, at least get through the strings. First part of the book is just teaching you the strings, the 6 strings on the guitar. Then jump into a classical guitar book. and get your fingers going. The reason why I say that is because if you're a total beginner and you've never played a guitar and you're going to start with the classical guitar, it'll be real tough to work on this hand and this hand at the same time. You know, where this Alfred's book concentrate on this hand, and then this hand is just using a pick until you get this hand going. You know. So that's what I recommend. Something else is you'll need a good music stand. It would be real hard just to throw it down on the table and try to do it like this. You know, I suppose you can to get started. You know, if you have to. It's nice to have a footstool. You put your one leg up on the footstool, and then your guitar rests on your leg. A nice chair, preferably a padded chair. You know, we'll go into more detail later. And then work on setting up your practice area. You know, out of the flow of traffic. You know, in the house. So we'll go into more detail in all of these later. This was just a short answer. So here's a link to Alfred's basic guitar book. I've been playing since I was 12, and I basically taught myself the first part with this book. That's how easy it is to understand that book. Then after I played for a while, then my parents brought me for lessons. This just happens to be a great website I found for free sheet music. And here's a link to the Jingle Bells song. Jingle Bells is real easy to play. It's a nice song to get started with. Something that's popular now is tablature. Most people just call it tab. And tab is a graphical representation of the guitar strings. That's what this stuff is here. See here they're saying E, E, E. That's all the thin string open. And then the tab shows you these are the 6 strings on the guitar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're saying thin string open, thin string open, thin string open, thin string 3rd fret, 2nd string 1st fret, 2nd string 3rd fret. Okay? I don't expect you to learn to play from this first series of videos. I'm just giving you an introduction to the business so you know what you're getting into. You know? So you can walk into a music store and say, okay, I want that guitar and that book, and know why you're buying it. You don't have to take the salesman's word for it. Okay? So don't try to totally understand this, but there's something new out now. You know, they call it tab. Here's the music, and then the tab shows you where it's played. Okay, so tab is a graphical representation of the guitar strings. The number on each string is the fret to be played. Open string, 3rd fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret. Okay, it's basically just help with reading notes. You know, if you don't have this memorized as an E, this memorized as an E, you know, it's kind of like a cheat type thing. You know, usually with classical music, you really need to learn to read the music, but that can be a slow process. It's kind of hard. So with the tab, you can kind of speed up the process a little bit. So really, when you learn to play, there's going to be three things that you have to learn all at the same time. You got to learn to move this hand, you got to learn to move this hand, and you got to learn to read the music. So if we can take some of the pressure off here by using tab and work on getting your fingers going, and then as you move through the months and the years, you pick up the music, how to read the music. When I took classical guitar lessons, the main thing I looked for from my classical guitar teacher was where to play the part, what fret. So tab takes all of the guesswork out of it. Usually, sometimes whoever wrote up the tab, maybe they didn't spend a lot of time, maybe they didn't do it just right, maybe they slopped through it, maybe it's machine generated and a person didn't actually have to review it or write it. So, but for the most part, it's usually spot on. But like when I was taking classical guitar lessons, like it was like late 70s, early 80s. Main thing I looked for was I would go in and he'd mark 1st fret here, 7th fret here. He showed me where to play it, or at least where he recommended that I played it. Okay, so that's the short answer. I do kind of recommend this guitar to get started. Some classical guitars are very expensive, but if you're just getting started, this one is fine for any age, young and old. I wouldn't go any cheaper than this, because if you go real cheap, they're hard to press down. And I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people drop out. They want to learn to play. They buy $100 guitar, and it's so hard to finger on the fretboard up here that they end up dropping out. So you could easily spend $500,000 on up for a classical guitar. For the average person to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on a guitar just to mess around the house, that's really getting up there. So $250 to get started, that's pretty good price. Plus, at $250, you can leave it out. If the dog or your kids knock it over, it's no big deal. If you're taking lessons, you can take it, throw it in the trunk. If it's hot outside or cold outside, you don't have to worry about it. If you go out and buy a $5,000 guitar, you're not going to want to leave that in a hot trunk or a cold back seat. You're not going to want to leave that on a guitar stand. See, you leave it on the guitar stand in your practice area so you practice more. Sure, it might get damaged, but we need you to practice. If you put everything away, take everything out every time you practice, practicing just gets to be a drag. That's why if you buy a cheap guitar to get started, you can leave everything out. You don't have to worry about it. Normally, you don't have to worry about them getting damaged. Those are rare. It's gonna get nicked up. It's gonna get scratched up. That's just part of it. So I really wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so we'll go into more detail with that stuff later on. Okay, so mainly here, the classical guitar has nylon strings, and we're going to play classical music on it. Sometimes they call it Spanish guitar, and flamenco is played on a nylon string guitar, but it's a whole nother style of music. Where we're going to play classical music style, this would be the flamenco style. And the short answer is just to help you get into a routine of practicing. Practice 30 minutes a day. Try to practice same time every day. One simple finger exercises to get you warmed up. And if you're a very beginner, start with the Alfred's book. Go out and get a music stand, a footstool, and a chair, padded chair, and work on setting up your practice area so you can leave everything out. Don't practice on the kitchen table. You got to take everything out, put everything away. It's just big pain. Okay?